discussing today some basic concepts in public finance. My name is Ankita Hajarika. I am Assistant Professor in Department of Economics. In this unit, the main topics that will be covered under public finance is tax, government budget and deficit. First, we need to know what is public finance. Public finance is such an area in economics which mainly discusses about the issues involved in raising and spending of public money. Government raises money from the public and its revenue, it generates revenue for itself, and that revenue is utilized for the public's welfare. Now, tax is one way through which government generates or collects generates revenue from the public. Therefore, first we will know what is tax. Tax is a word that everyone gets to hear, comes to hear in their day-to-day lives, and we simply know that tax is something that the general public pay to the government. Okay. Now, a good definition of tax would include that it is a compulsory payment or it is a compulsory contribution which is levied by the government on wealth or income or production or consumption or sales or purchase, and it has to be paid by the taxpayer. And one particular characteristic is that the public which pay tax to the government cannot expect any direct benefit from it. Then there are some concepts like tax rate, tax base, tax liability, tax coverage, etc. And what is tax rate? It is, we know that a part of the employee's income, individual's income is paid to the government in the form of tax, and the rate at which government imposes tax on the individual's income is called the tax rate. And what is tax base? It is a legally defined object upon which government imposes tax. So if tax is imposed on income, then income is termed as a tax base. If tax is being imposed on some production activities or the production of some commodities, then that type of tax can be termed as sales tax or something like that. Then another concept is tax liability. We know that tax rate, we are clear now about what is tax rate, but what is tax liability? Okay, the portion of income that individuals pay to the government in the form of tax is called a tax liability of the individual. Tax coverage refers to the number of people who pay tax. That is, there are some ranges in the tax system where it is particularly mentioned that a certain part of the society will not have to pay tax. Suppose from 0 to 3 lakhs per annum, people are not required to pay tax. Like that, we can also understand what is average tax rate and what is marginal tax rate. Average tax rate is the ratio of total tax liability to total tax base, and marginal tax rate is the ratio of change in tax liability to change in tax base. Marginal tax rate basically measures how much change in the tax liability will take place when the tax base is changed. Next, there is a concept called buoyancy of tax. It is the responsiveness of tax yield to a change in the tax base. And another concept, elasticity of tax, it shows the responsiveness of tax yield to the change in either tax rate or tax coverage. Tax base, tax rate and tax coverage are three concepts through which government can either increase or decrease the tax revenue it collects from the public. There are some features of tax which are very important. First of all, it is compulsory payment. People cannot say that when government levies tax on individuals' income, people cannot say that we don't want to pay tax. They must pay the tax. Then it is a legal collection, it is a measured source of public income, and other features continue. Then what is the main objective of collecting taxes? So we know that people who pay tax cannot expect any direct benefit from it. So what purpose of collecting this tax could be? Government collects this tax to increase society's welfare. Therefore, some ways is to regulate consumption and production. When production activities are being taxed, then producers are discouraged to produce more. Therefore, some production, if government finds that this particular type of commodity is harming society's welfare, then it can levy heavy tax on the production activity and thus thereby reducing the production. Then it can encourage domestic industries, it can stimulate investments and the rest of it. Like one of the most important objective is development of backward regions. Like government collects more taxes from the richer section of the society and it mainly utilizes it for the benefit of the backward regions. Then there are certain canons of taxation, that is principles of taxation. Number one we can say is the Canon of Equity, which says that how taxes should be levied. We know that tax is something that government will levy to for its revenue, generation of revenue, but then comes the question of how it should be levied. Therefore, to answer this how, there are certain canons. Number one, which tells that taxes should be levied according to the ability to pay of the individuals. Then others follow like this. There are certain types of taxation. Basically, tax can be divided into two types: direct tax and indirect tax. Direct taxes can be income tax, corporation tax, property tax, inheritance tax, etc. Indirect taxes, these were custom duty, excise duty, service tax, sales tax, VAT. But all these indirect taxes has been replaced by GST in the year 2017. All these indirect taxes has been replaced by one tax, that is GST. But few commodities still continue this other types of indirect taxes. Then what is GST? We need to know that it is a type of indirect tax which is comprehensive multi-stage destination based tax. Why comprehensive? Comprehensive means that it replaced all other types of indirect taxes that prevailed earlier. And destination based tax means that tax is now collected on the place where the final consumption of the commodity is happening, not on the place of its production. And some certain commodities which are not covered under GST include alcohol, cigarettes, tobacco products, etc. Now there are certain types of GST which includes SGST, CGST, IGST, UTGST. We will discuss later in detail about these concepts. Now let's talk about direct tax and indirect tax. Direct tax is something which is paid by the party upon which tax is levied, and but indirect tax is something which is not paid by the party upon which tax is levied in the first place. Rather, it is paid by some intermediary. Then direct tax, that means the burden in case of direct tax cannot be shifted, but the burden of tax in case of indirect tax can be shifted, which means that suppose income tax is a type of direct tax, then if income tax is levied on certain individual, then he cannot shift his burden of paying that tax to some other individual. But sales tax, for example, is a type of indirect tax which can be shifted to the final consumers, which was initially levied to the producers of a particular commodity, but the producers will shift the burden of paying the tax to the final consumers. Okay. Then there are certain structures of taxation, like which part of the society will pay how much of tax. On the basis of that, three structures of taxation we can find. First is proportional taxation, second is progressive taxation, then regressive taxation. Then what happens in proportional taxation is that all the people in the society will have to pay the tax. Government will levy the same rate on everyone, irrespective of their levels of income. But in case of progressive taxation, the structure changes like that. Government levies more tax, higher tax rate to the richer section, or to the people, on the people who earns more compared to the people who earns less. That is, here the less income earner pays lower taxes, and the higher income earners pays higher taxes. In case of regressive taxation, the situation completely change, because here what happens, as an individual's level of income increases, the tax rate starts falling. So on the basis of their characteristics, governments accordingly to their economic situation can choose which type of tax structure of taxation will be most suitable and suitable for increasing their economy's welfare. Therefore, today I would like to end my class here, and thank you everyone.